So agenda today, I'm going to start out with some minimal requirements for any organization, no matter what industry you're in, what silo you might be in, what we consider to be minimum. And then Bill is going to jump into, okay, I hit minimum requirements. What do I go from there? What is the next steps if I so care to do so? As Phil alluded to, I believe in 80-20 rule for security, that 80% of your risk can be taken care of with 20% of the effort. There are a handful of things that you can do inside of your organization that's going to minimize the biggest risks out there. And those risks are all things that you're probably familiar with: ransomware, phishing attacks, all the stuff that you hear and read about in the newspapers today. Those things can be minimized, the risk mitigated with some easy steps. The first one is secure your accounts. Turn on MFA. Everybody knows what MFA is, correct? Please turn it on, and even turn it on with your Facebook, your Netflix, any of those accounts too, because they get into those and they're going to start to figure out your lifestyle a little bit more and use that against you. So and from a Facebook standpoint, I'll tell you what, I've had friends of wives call me crying because they lost their Facebook accounts. It's not a fun situation when all those pictures and stuff go away. So it just isn't requirements for your business either. It's personal life as well. So password management software such as Lastpass. If you're not familiar with what Lastpass is, it's an application that runs inside your browser. It also has a application for iOS or Apple devices, but basically it allows you to use a secure password for all of your accounts, and you don't have to memorize those passwords. It will automatically put them into the login for you using an add-on into your browser. So this allows you to use a different password across all your different platforms. The first thing they do is when they find your password on the dark web, which your password is probably out on the dark web, they will start using that same email and password across all your different accounts. If they know you bank with Huntington, they're going to go try to hack into Huntington. They're going to try the same username and password. They're going to try Chase bank accounts. They're going to try everything they can because most people use those same things. So password management software, not expensive software, probably $60 a year. You can separate out your business accounts from your personal accounts. It's just a very secure thing to do. So, and then finally, review your authenticated users across those different accounts. Like I said, your password is probably out there. And so it's not a matter of, that's why MFA is so important, because your password's probably out there. So if you've got these legacy user accounts sitting out there, just realize that somebody's probably has it somewhere. Any questions on that data point at all? Like I said, hopefully not mind-blowing stuff. Second point here, talk about security. Always come out with, talk to your teams about newly identified commonly phishing schemes. I've seen companies before that have the email address is so close. Like, for example, if it was an Envizion IT email account, they might put two N's in it instead of one N. You'd never even know that it was a different domain. Those types of schemes are out there. Just communicating those to your team so that they're aware of them. That's important stuff. I mean, we're all in today's environment. We're all pretty. We all know it's out there. So just to keep giving little data points of this is the new thing that they're trying. So there is security software out there for security awareness, training solutions. Example would be KnowBe4 would be an example of that. They'll actually send out phishing emails to see who in your organization is going to click on it and who needs a little additional training. So non-IT related standard operating procedures is very important as well. And this one I think goes back to something that you guys can play a big role in, whether it's changing bank account information for users, bank account information for paying customers or receiving payment from customers, or paying vendors. Make sure that those operating procedures are tight and you're not just taking any email from some random email account and updating bank account information. So that's a big one that we see out there that everybody needs some help with. So. And then finally, verify your backups. Ransomware attacks are still very prevalent. They're out there. Is everybody aware of ransomware and what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was that?
I just said yes.
Okay. Yeah. So ransomware is out there. Obviously, you don't want to pay that ransom. So the best thing to do is to restore from backup. So making sure that your backup in place is the cheapest and expensive way to get that data back. Cybersecurity insurance. I've not been a part of it before, but I do know people that they have used their cyber insurance to pay for the ransom on their data. So cybersecurity insurance is definitely a real thing that's good and does pay out. So it's something to look into. We've got it. It's not overly expensive. I didn't think it was too bad for an organization of our size.
Yeah,
Any questions?
I bought it with the direct mail company, and boy, it was back in the 90s, but then it started really jumping up in cost for a direct mail company that deals with a lot of data from all kinds of places, right? Because you got to print it, and so anyway, yes, it's good.
Have you ever had to use it before?
Yeah, we did. We had somebody got a hold of it, even with a printed address that went somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but it covered more than just your data. It actually covered us if we printed something from the data that we shouldn't have or whatever, or it went or something like that. So that was part of it, which was good. So yes, we did have issues.
And one little asterisk with cybersecurity insurance, sometimes it makes you more vulnerable to attack as well. If the bad actors find out you have cybersecurity insurance, they know that the security agent is going to want to pay. And really that's all they're looking for. They really couldn't care about your data. They're just looking to get that payday. And so it's kind of a little bit of a double-edged sword. It's kind of a nice, it's a gotta have, but it's also, if somebody finds out you have it, you may be a little bit more vulnerable. And so you have to take other precautions, which we'll talk about. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because I was at a convention one day and the speaker had actually said that they view this as a business. The bad actors view this as a business. So if they get you once, they usually don't come back and try to extort you more. Because if they start to get the reputation that they're extorting you, and by paying you're just putting a bigger target on your back, they all work together and make sure that they don't extort people, because then people will stop paying. It's kind of a hard concept to understand that it's a business, but yeah. So, and then the cybersecurity insurance too will also help with any other remediation as well. So make sure, if you do have it, call them right away. They're going to want to get involved right away from the get-go. So, got a link to kind of a little bit more of this article about this that I wrote. If you guys are interested in digging into more details or reading more in depth about what we just talked about. But from there, I'm going to hand it over to Bill. Bill can talk about some of the next steps. Like I said, this is minimum requirements. So everybody should have this. And like I said, not just organizations, but in your personal life as well. Put this in place. And from there, you should eliminate most of your risk. The question is what do you do if this isn't enough?
Yeah, so I really like this this little screenshot here, because in order to really, when you think about cybersecurity, you really want to think about defense in depth. So the best analogy I can do is, I grew up at a time when we didn't even have locks on our doors. We lived in a lake community and didn't even have locks on our doors, and you just kind of came and went. But that we couldn't do that today. And so it's really, do you lock the storm door? Okay, that's one level. Okay, then you lock the inner door. That's a second level, but it's a wooden door, so it could be broke down. So do you put in a steel door with a lock, and then do you put a deadbolt on it, and then do you put an alarm system on it, and do you put a camera, a doorbell with a camera on it, and it's none of those things in their own on their own would keep somebody from breaking into and stealing your assets, but the combination of all of those is really where you become more secure. So all those things that Mark talked about, and like I said, if you go read his article, it goes in a little bit more in depth with a few other things, is what defense in depth is about. It's about kind of securing, having that password, but then also having that secondary method of authentication to where you need to use your phone, you have a fingerprint reader, or you do something else. I mean, that's when you're securing things down. And so as we look at this diagram here, I mean, it does start, and as Mark said, it starts in in just doing the basic things, making sure 80% of your security risk is going to come from your end users. It's not going to come from outside. It's going to be somebody clicking on a link. It's going to be somebody opening up an email. Somebody in HR processing a payroll because some bad actor sent them an email that looked like it came from an employee that says, change my paycheck information. Those kind of things. Those are very common things. And so, so as we think about defense in depth, we have to start somewhere. So that's where we start. But then where do we end up? And where do you end up really is kind of mandated by who is doing your regulatory stuff. That's where we have to start, is we got to check those boxes off. So if you're regulated in an industry, I come from healthcare. And so, you had HIPAA, we had a hospital, so we had the Joint Commission involved in there. And so we had to make sure that those check boxes were checked off as far as security goes. However, that's a horrible way to do security, is by only checking off the check boxes. Because the other piece that's involved with that is you also have to determine how adverse you are to risk. So you can do nothing, and it's not going to cost you anything, whether it's time, resources, or money. Or you can do everything, where it's going to take up all your time, all your resources, and all your money, and be the most secure. But then that's all you're in business for, is to do that. So where along that continuum line are you comfortable? How much data can you lose? How much data are you willing to risk? I mean, is cyber insurance and cybersecurity insurance enough? Or is it really, making sure that everything gets backed up to the last minute, everything gets backed up to the last half hour, everything gets backed up to the last day, is really, that's where you kind of have to determine, that next piece of it is yes, I have to check all the boxes off for my industry, but I also have to determine as an organization, what am I willing to lose, and how much risk I involve with that. And then you have to set up some policies and procedures and some awareness around that. And so, so as you kind of look at this graphic here, I mean, it does start at the bottom and it goes to the top. And so, Mark, if you want to flip to the next slide. And so the policies, procedures, and awareness really comes in the form of, of making sure that you have all of those things in place. And then making sure that it's checked. So one of the things that I learned really quickly being an IT director was anytime that any of the regulatory bodies came in to do an audit, if I did a self-assessment, they're like, yeah, your IT guys did that, right? And they probably Googled how to do it, and they probably didn't put in the stuff that would make them look bad, or that is going to put their jobs at risk. And so I don't really trust this audit. But if I had a third party come in and do those audit, which is what I did after the first one, and I got the kind of slap on the hand and saying, we'll take it this time, but it's not very good. I had a third party come in and do it. It was just like, okay, cool, check, you're done. We don't even need to have this conversation anymore. For your cybersecurity insurance agent, they're going to go, yep, check, you're done. We're going to fulfill this claim for you because we know you've done everything you can because you have those things in place. So it really does, and it starts off, as far as auditing and that policy, procedures, and awareness of just having basic things in place. Have employees sign a policy that talks about that they're going to not click on links. It's about having a a policy that you're going to do security training during Cybersecurity Awareness Month, those kind of things. And then it can mature to the level of what I'm showing here. And what this is it's really it's a phased approach of going in and doing kind of an audit, not only of just making sure that you don't have any leaks, we have penetration tests, we call it, make sure there's no leaks in any of your hardware equipment. It's also going through and making sure that you have these policies and these procedures in place. And then at what level do you have those? I know it's a little bit of an eye chart, but, and anytime you can automate them, that even makes them better. And, and anytime that they're tested, that makes them better. And so, this is kind of, the most mature model that you can get with cybersecurity awareness is, we have offerings for this. Other companies have offerings for this where they will come in and do this. You can do self ones, but as I said, the auditors may or may not accept that. But it is this where you become here with this is where you're at your highest awareness of cybersecurity. And like I said, it can't take up all your time because you have businesses to run, you have products to deliver or services to deliver. So if you have this in place, and usually the first time is the hardest time to do it, then once you do it, it's just a matter of reviewing it, or if you update something, of changing it so that it matches with now whether it's a software package or a new process, or you're taking on a new product or something, you just go about and do the updating. And so something like this is kind of where you get to as you mature to the highest level of your cybersecurity program.
Good, yeah. So let's to just summarize that again. Make sure you got your minimum pieces in place. Make sure you're hitting your regulatory requirements, and then start to look into those IT plans and policies and start to add on to those to get to the right fit for you and your organization.
Hey, Bill, real quick, if you go back to that last slide, I mean, it doesn't have to be super intrusive or hindering to have some type of flight list like this with some columns. The depth of the line items need to match to your point. I like what you said. What are you willing to lose, right?
Yeah.
You would use this to draw your lines in the sand and then and maintain it from there.
Absolutely. So this is a security model, and so you'll hear like NIST. This happens to be CIS. You hear a bunch of different security models. Some of the industries that you're in may have their own security model. And that kind of stuff. HIPAA is a security model, for healthcare. But this is a security model, and basically what you do is you just kind of use this model then to tailor your security environment within your organization, and basically it's your comfort level of where you want to be at with all this stuff. I mean, you can harden it down as much as you want. That's going to take some time, effort, resources, money, those kind of things. Or what we can say is, okay, we have policies in place. We trained our end users, our employees on these policies, and then we're going to enforce these policies, and then we're going to update these policies. And that's really kind of what this is more about. Is I'm not doing so much of the kind of the testing piece of this. Is I'm kind of setting the foundation. Once you get the foundation set, I mean, that's really what these frameworks are about, is setting the foundation. Once you got the foundation set, then you're in pretty good shape.
And then, hey, Mark, I just had a question. I know you said that your slide was talking about the minimum things that everyone should have in place, but I am just curious, what is the #1 ticket response that your company deals with related to the minimums? What minimum gets failed most often that you're like, you guys probably, I know you're not laughing at me or us, but you kind of all got to chuckle together. Like, I can't believe we're dealing with 5 of these today. I mean, what is that? What is that one?
Yeah, I think the #1 is, sadly, still people getting their emails hacked and sending out those phishing emails to all their customers and all their contacts, and they end up calling us super embarrassed, right? It's always embarrassing. They end up calling us and saying, "Oh, why are we not protected from this? What did our IT team not do right?" And it always comes down to multi-factor authentication. If they had that in place, that wouldn't have been a problem. It doesn't, like I said, those don't result in usually a whole lot other than just embarrassment, because those emails are usually so poorly written that people sniff it out pretty fast. But
Mark, correct
one
me
thing
if I'm wrong. different than the ones where they make it look like it came from you, but they change the one digit in your email or something like that, right? There's nothing you can do about those. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the second one that I was going to bring up. I actually get a lot of people that try to send emails that look like me, and they use my signature, they use my name, but they're coming from, some abc123@gmail.com email account. Sometimes it's that poorly done, where it's
Mark
like,
Weldoff at Envision, right? Instead of Veldoff.
yeah, yeah. A lot of times, a lot of those come through, and I get them all the time. People are like, "Hey, did you send me this?" It's like, the email address isn't even close to being the email address that you would think I'd send something from. But, it's always good to send out and ask the question. So, that's the majority of what we see when it comes to those, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just somebody starting up a Gmail account and using your signature. The ones that actually put the effort into it and actually pull out a domain that looks like Envizion IT. Maybe they actually use an S instead of a Z. Who would think about doing something like that, right? So, so that those people that actually put the effort into it, those are the ones that are tougher to sniff out, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So
That's where your defense in depth really becomes important, is because if you do that cybersecurity awareness training, and like we tell our clients is, I'd rather you send me 20 emails that you suspect are bad and us find one of those than to you not ever to send me one, and then for you to send somebody's payroll data or payroll to because that's not ever recoverable, and that kind of stuff. And so it is, it truly is about training your users to understand that, look at the replying, look at who sent it, look at the real email address, read the contents of the email, because it's usually poorly worded or bad English, is what I say. It's bad English that's usually inside of it. And is it a reasonable request? And always pick up the phone and just call the person and say, did you send this to me? Don't click on the link. Did you send this to me? Because I'm going to ask you before I click on the link. So
our company is notorious for sending out fake or phishing emails to keep us on, and we have to hit a fish button, and and then they tell us, good job, or you go in jail. You have to go to training.
Well, I asked because I was working with someone, it was a financial institution on the personal side, and I've been working with them on updating some information. And I kid you not, I went into a secure portal. I requested an email change, like just, how you update your account information. I requested an email change, and I got a phone call 20 minutes later, and they were like, hey, did you just submit through the portal to have your email updated? And I was like, yeah, I was on the secure portal and I was doing the thing, and they were like, okay, we need to call. They're like, they call verify him now for whatever reason. And I don't know if they had something recently happen or what, but it just kind of took me back to the level it must be happening, because this is a group of people I've been working on and off with for 2 weeks, changing information around, right? So it's in the realm of possibilities, but still they took the time to say, hey, we're not going to change it unless you physically, can you tell me what you changed it to right now over the phone? I want to record it. I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, here it is. So, I mean, yeah.
And even as good as we think we are, I did it myself. I gave somebody my password. I was down working with a customer in Mexico, was there all week long. Long week, lots of working. Last day I'm there, I'm up early, checking emails before I hit my flight, and not even thinking I'd gotten you need to reset your password, it expired email. And I clicked on it and typed it in, and all of a sudden I went, crap. I just did it. And so then you go through all your emails, change your passwords, it was embarrassing, but you just get caught at the wrong time, not thinking, and you're one click away from a bad day. So
Yeah.
Well, I think that's great, and yeah, it's good information, and it's good just to talk about it, to remind ourselves to do it, right? Because to your point, you got tired. You know better than most, but it still happens. Right. Without reinforcement, without sharpening each other. We can lose our edge a bit. So that's great. Does anyone else have any final questions for Bill or for Mark?
No, that was very helpful, especially with my clients. Thank you.
I agree.
Hey, Mark,
I
can you
think
send me
that's-
that? And I can forward it along in case anyone wants to click on those links.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Hey, thank you for your time, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you
Bill.
very
Thank you, Mark.
much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mark.
Yes,
Have a good
be
day.
safe. Yes, bye.